I did the wrong one. I did the wrong video. I was playing the end. The show's not over. Hold on.
Fight, 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 fight.
Hypocrisy.
Hi. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, small law firm in central Minnesota. I definitely did not mean to do that. That was way outside of the plan. The two videos, they're right next to each other, right? Like one's on top of the other, asserting dominance. And I clicked on the wrong one because I was like, I got the mouse in the right place. And then I started looking somewhere else when I clicked. And so I must have jittered it up. Because, yeah, it's above the other one. That's what happened. Turn your mic up. My mic should be up. Hold on. That's right. Yeah, everything should be fine. You turn your mic up. Will Rajkowski says, holy shit, eyes of modafinil. You wish. No, I don't have any. Right. First of all, I don't take it for the night show ever. I usually only take it if I'm going to do live streaming of trials because I have to be awake for long periods of time that I'm not normally awake for. So no, but also they're just fucking out of it right now. So that's great. I do have the most delicious drink on the planet right now. This is a non-alcoholic beverage. I have liquor too, but this is sweet tea. Whole milk. I prefer heavy cream, giggity, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla in here. It's so fucking good. It's stupid. But yeah. Now the whiskey that I've got tonight is actually a new whiskey that I've had a little bit. And I've shared some with friends, but this is a Whistle Pig Summer Stock Rye. It's a limited edition called Pit Viper. I don't know. It's good. It's got some bold flavoring to it. It's got some, I don't know how to describe it. It's got a whiskey flavor, but it's not super whiskey-y. It's also got some, I don't know if it's fruit or gayness that has it, but one of those things. All right, guys. Here we go. Still have a cough, still all that shit. We're not going to get into it. I'm not going to waste a bunch of time. Tonight we're talking about, we're going to finish up the opinion on Trump's immunity claim, or not immunity claim, his the 14th Amendment disqualification of Trump by Colorado. We're going to bring back Sonia Sotomayor. Her opinion on it is where we left off. And we're going to just kind of go into why she's a fucking idiot, because she is. I don't know how else to describe it. Sonia Sotomayor is one of the worst justices ever appointed. Thank God she was appointed by Obama. So we can just blame it on black people making bad decisions or whatever. I'm not sure. But yeah, we're going to read her little opinion. It's 5 pages. And she's going to talk about abortion, a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter to presidential disqualification under the 14th Amendment. And that's that. Then we have Fani Willis shit that I'd like to cover. There's a lot of background to it. So we're going to talk about the Fani Willis stuff. I'll try and give a synopsis of what's been going on that's really relevant to today. And then we'll talk about what's going on today. The judge has not ruled yet on whether or not she's disqualified. Also, there's another prosecutor who now wants to testify against Fani Willis because she's saying this guy named Bradley, Terrence Bradley, I think is his name, that Mr. Bradley did not truthfully represent himself. So we'll talk about hearsay. We'll talk about statements of other parties and why this would be admissible. Normally, you cannot just say, oh, Bradley told me this or whatever. You'd have to have a reason, an exception to the hearsay rule. So we're going to talk about that, so you can get a little legal education or whatever. We're going to watch a video of Trump's lawyer getting quote unquote destroyed by a Democrat senator. So that'll be funny. And then we're going to talk about Trump's appeal bonds and some other stuff regarding his cases with E. Jean Carroll, the woman he didn't grab by the pussy because it would probably be hideous. But we're going to talk about that as well. And that's going to be the show tonight. We'll see how long it goes. That's what she said. And then we'll transition into heterosexuality at some point. But that's the synopsis, and I'm not going to belabor this too long. We're going to hit these super chats. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually flip to Rumble tonight or not. Again, really liked the interaction we had on YouTube last night versus just flipping over to Rumble exclusively. But maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Who knows? It's a mystery. And the speculation in the comments has been glorious and wonderful and all incorrect. Sorry, you don't know what's happening. Dax Terminex says, hey, Nick, dropping this for a toast from me for my 40th birthday today. Been a fun day, topped off with a porterhouse steak dinner and prepping for a day out at the range. Hope you and the family are doing better. Cheers. We are doing better. Thank you for that. Still got lingering sickness shit, just the crud now. No one's actually sick anymore, but it's just that like chest congestion, nasal congestion, sinus pressure shit. And it's just draining. But that said, everybody's doing great. Happy 40th birthday, man. Dude, 40 plus has been great for me. And since I'm the only person who has any life experience that I can reference and the only one that matters, I would think that 40 plus will be good for you too. So please enjoy it. Don't get freaked out about the fucking number. Live life how you want to live it. And start becoming immune to other people's criticisms, other people's issues and problems, because now you're 40 and you don't have time for that shit. Like Murtaugh in Lethal Weapon 3 or whatever. Cheers, brother. Enjoy it. Enjoy the unearned respect you get from being older, and enjoy the definitely earned disdain you have for everyone else's opinions and your willingness now to not give a shit about them. Cheers to you. Happy birthday, brother. Chris Way says, pour one out for Ruby and Rooster Teeth. No. Longtime fans of the channel may know this. Simone says, where's your Rumble kit? 100. Where's your Rumble K? Your 100K Rumble trophy is right here. Whoa, it's... I still have the filter on. I still have a filter on for a chroma key. Hold on. For a green screen. Let me fix that. That was weird. Filters. This... I can just delete that. Trash. Garbage. Okay. Here it is. Here it is. So here's the Rumble thing. But yeah, Rooster Teeth is a film studio that produced a show called Ruby. Vic Mignogna was a voice on Ruby. Uncle Crow, I think, was his character. I've never watched it because it looks kind of gay. To me, it's not really my style. But a lot of people are fans of Ruby inexplicably. But Rooster Teeth had to close its doors today. They ended up shutting down, probably because they're a bunch of degenerate, horrible people. So there's that. But yeah, long live Rooster Teeth. Cheers. Maybe your CEO or whatever executive it was shouldn't have beat his wife so much. And maybe the other one shouldn't have taken pictures of his wife and sent them to his girlfriend while she was changing. That was fucking weird. Very fucking weird. Weird people. Oh, and those pictures of him sitting on a dildo over and over again, those were even weirder. If you guys missed that saga of the Rooster Teeth executive fuck-ups, it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. Charles Vance says, Nick, please toast HGR. She's convicted today and remanded. I think she was scapegoated. Oh, Hannah Gutierrez Reed is the armor and rust. Cheers to her for being unqualified and now being punished for it. Sorry, maybe you shouldn't have put bullets in a gun instead of blanks. Leon's Law, pour one out for my relationship that died over the weekend. She said her political campaign was more important. You were dating Kamala Harris? Good riddance. Love you, homie. Dude, Leon's Law, cheers to you and your dead relationship. If she was running for office, it was dead anyway. Women don't belong in politics. And the reason they don't belong in politics is because they're women. You may think that's circular reasoning, but I dare you to find a woman who can draw a circle. Cheers to you, buddy. All right. You guys know it's not true, right? You know I actually love women and hate everybody else. ladies. Just kidding. If you believe that, you're a woman. Okay, here we go. We're going to get into topic today. We're going to get going on this. And I've already got this pulled up, but we're just going to have a fun time. Oh, I do have to say one more thing. I don't like I'm trying to get away from talking about scheduling and shit every day. Friday, 2 days from now, I will not be streaming. I wasn't sure how I was going to go, but Lady Rackets' birthday is over the weekend. Be celebrating, and that starts Friday. And so I will not be streaming Friday night because I'll be, I guess, doing something with her, maybe, or whatever, because she's turning like an age. She's turning 25. Anyway, yeah, it's her birthday. We're going to be out on Friday and not hanging around the house here. So I won't be able to do a stream, and that'll be that. If I can do something over the weekend, maybe I will. Or if I do something, maybe something earlier in the day on Friday, it's possible, but I'm not going to say I will do that because I probably won't. But if I get around to it, I'll try. But yeah, I just wanted to prep people. No show Friday night. There will be a show tomorrow night, assuming something stupid doesn't happen. Bogart 63 says, Nick, I asked Barnes about the three-way chat with you and Barris. He was 100% for it. I have no juice to get in this motion. Well, if your motion isn't producing juice, go to a doctor. But I'm sure all three of our communities would support this. Dude, I'm down. I love Barnes. I've never talked to Barris, but he seems like a cool dude. So we'll definitely do that if possible. Chris Way says, the show devolved into a dumpster fire, but I'll never see the end of it. Oh, Ruby. I thought you were talking about my show. I was like, oh, you'll see the end of it, brother. It'll come hit you with a shovel. I'm not actually paused. I just wanted to see if I could do it. All right, let's go back to this. So I am going to go back. I'm actually cheating now. I'm going to go back and read Amy Coney Barrett's. Coney is like a hot dog. I wonder how many. Never mind. Amy Coney Barrett's opinion again, because I think I was a little bit tipsy when I read it, and I was tired last night. It was at the end of the show, and it's not very long. It's only a couple paragraphs, but people were telling me I might have missed something in it. So I'm going to go back and read it real quick, and then we'll read Sotomayor's for a brief recap on what happened. This is on Trump's 14th Amendment disqualification that Colorado attempted to do. And the Supreme Court basically said, yeah, states can't do that because that's dumb. And all 9 justices agreed, as I said they should and probably would. But it was still a huge surprise to quote unquote legal experts and the mass media, because they're like, but Trump, though, he should be disqualified and Colorado should have a right to do it. But you cannot change Trump's name to anything else in the world. Change it to like Rocco or something and just ignore the fact that he's Donald Trump. And seriously, if you think about the possibility of any one state disqualifying a president from being a presidential candidate from being on the ballot for a reason like insurrection without a conviction or any sort of guiding principle, but just saying, oh yeah, by the way, he can't be on the ballot. Like if you think about how much chaos that would instill into the election system, that states could individually select the candidates. No, that can't be a thing. And ironically, he violates the 14th Amendment because substantive due process means that you don't have a right to run for the presidency, but once you are able to run for the presidency, they have to apply the right or the privilege or whatever equally under the 14th Amendment. And so you don't get to just disqualify someone because you're like, oh, insurrection or whatever. First of all, that's pretextual because they just don't like Trump. They don't think he insurrected anything. And he definitely never erected near E. Jean Carroll. But second of all, it's pretextual, but you don't get to just make exceptions for a president you don't like and then decide that a criminal conviction, which would normally be required for an insurrection removal under the 14th Amendment, that gets to be just applied without a criminal trial. That violates Fifth Amendment rights. So, Fifth Amendment, 14th Amendment, both of those kind of matter, I guess, or whatever. And even though he's Donald Trump and he has stupid hair and he says stuff that's funny and he eats fried chicken from a bucket on a private jet, like it still means he gets those same process rights. And that's good because he's just an asshole. But he's an asshole who's rich and powerful. You guys are assholes who aren't rich or powerful, and you don't want to be treated like Trump gets treated. Because that would be really fucking bad. So we want the bad guys treated better than we would want to be treated. Send it C20 says, Nick, I need help, legal help in a fight. I got a false 5250 when I was 18 in California. You know anyone who can help so I can get my gun rights back? Do you mean a 5150? 5150 is where it's an involuntary commitment for 72 hours for psychiatric care. Is that what you're talking about? I don't know what a 5250 is. Let me see. 5250 California. 5250 Cal. I learned that from MGK. 5250 holds are an extension of a 5150 hold. 5150 holds can only last up to 72 hours. 5250 holds can include up to 14 days of involuntary mental health treatment. So, yeah, I don't know what involuntary mental health treatment actually looks like. Do they just make fun of you a lot or whatever? They go, oh, you're not really good at anything. Thanks. Dude, I don't know. You're in California. You want to get your gun rights back. You got 5150 a long time ago. The mental health thing is there. I can ask around, but I legit do not know anyone who practices in that specific area in Colorado. I would talk to Fudbusters or Benjamin Blatt, maybe. Benjamin Blatt is a great attorney. Maybe they would have answers for you on how to go about fighting for that. But getting your rights back is stupid and hard, and it shouldn't be. D. Watt gifted some memberships. Thank you. Chris Way says, if I hired you as a lawyer, can you send some shit to Warner telling them I want to buy the Ruby IP for $100? Yeah. I could write a letter asking for the sale of the Ruby IP. How offensive do you want the letter to be? Let's talk, brother. That sounds fun. Nightlight 89 says, hey, Nick, I know you don't like promoting these things when you can't verify them. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I can't verify it. I hate that. Could you shout out the GoFundMe for my 2-year-old niece's cancer treatments? Oh, my God. That's sad. Hopefully it's treatable and all that shit. But yeah, I'll pull this up real quick. This is for helping Claire beat cancer. Guys, this one, look, I normally can't endorse these. I don't know. And I don't know this one, but look, they've raised a shitload of money, $44,544 out of their $50,000 goal. This is for this little 2-year-old named Claire. Help her beat cancer. Guys, cancer in kids is exhausting on the parents and the children. It's trying. And look, I can't imagine being a child, right? And going, oh, hey, am I going to be a kid today? No, actually I have to go in for chemo or whatever. So that sucks. I'm going to do something here I don't normally do, but look, this little girl is adorable. She's got to get past this shit. I fucking hate cancer. I hate cancer for kids even more than anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to donate some money here. I'm going to encourage you guys to do the same. Like, again, normally I would verify it, right? Like, and say, oh yeah, I can vouch for this. I can't vouch for this, but the fact that they have an existing GoFundMe that's like mostly funded, I think we're probably okay. I think we're probably okay there. So, I'm going to go ahead and share this in the chats wherever we are. And I have just donated $250 to little Claire. I don't ask people to donate to stuff unless I'm willing to put money down to it. And this one seemed pretty fucking obvious to me. Like this is probably an okay thing. So we'll go over here. Can I go back to the fundraiser and show so people can see here that I'm not lying? Look, again, I don't ask people to donate to stuff unless I'm willing to. You can see my donation here, $250 for little Claire. So if you guys would throw some love her way, if you're going to throw me a super chat or whatever, I really appreciate that. I love that, but maybe consider throwing $5-10 her way instead, because I'm probably going to use it to buy whiskey, but hopefully Claire will use that money, or her parents will use that money to buy life and time and an opportunity for a little kid to change the world in the future. So thank you for sharing that. Nightlight 89. let's go ahead and get back to this Trump shit, since that was too serious. That's too serious. So, damn it. Chris Way also says scorch earth, as in trying to buy the Ruby IP. Are you sure you'd want to spend $100 on the Ruby IP? Brack says, AK guy, Brandon Herrera just got enough votes to force a runoff. Got about 25% of votes to Gonzalez, 45% or so forcing a runoff, which is great. I hope he wins because he's better than that guy. But I also hope he loses, because if Brandon Herrera, the AK guy, becomes a politician, he becomes an enemy of the people and he becomes a fag. And he's not, though. Like, he's so lovable and adorable, and I like him to just be his normal hetero self. So I don't want him to win because politicians are gay and deserve the cross, like Roman style, like a crucifixion where they die on it. But that's what they deserve. But he doesn't deserve that. He deserves to like live because he's cool. Fire PA 498 says, Nick, can I get a toast? Saturday is my wife's birthday? ? Would you not know that that's your wife's birthday? Celebrating the woman who brought my son into this world and worked so hard every moment to care for her family. Truly no one else on earth I'd rather grow with. Well, don't ever grow with your wife. You grow, she can stay the same size. That's better. And spend the rest of my life with. Well, that I can agree with. Here we go. Let me get a little bit more. Let me get a little bit more of this whistle pig in here. And yes, of course, we can choose the wife, the mother of your child or whatever. Oh, yeah, you promised to do everything for her. Yeah, here we go. Cheers to you, Fire PA 498. Cheers to your wife bringing your son into the world, allowing your progeny to grow, giving you the opportunity to instill your values, your beliefs, your hilarity, and all of your dad jokes into the next generation, and bring about the life and really the culture you want. There is no way to influence culture as a person other than raising the next generation. It doesn't mean you have to have the kids. Not everybody gets to have kids. It doesn't mean you have to parent the kids full time or ever. Not everybody gets to be a parent. It doesn't matter about that. What it does matter is taking the time with kids to take your values, your understanding of the world, your challenges to the things that they're force-fed and forced to recite daily, and to say, hey, let me just give you a little bit of a different perspective because I've been around this world for a while. That's the thing that saves the next generation and the next one and the next one. That's the thing the baby boomers didn't do. They gave us to the school systems. That's the thing that Generation Y or whatever what are they? Millennials. That's the thing that millennials lamented, and that's the thing that Zoomers are going to try and fix. The problem is that Zoomers are basically retarded, so they're going to try and fix it, but it's not going to be better than the school system. But anyway, the way we fix the next generation is by raising them, no matter if it's our kid, someone else's kid, or whatever. But of course, a toast to your wife for bringing the next generation of you into the world. May you pass the good parts of you on and pass by the bad parts of you, as we all try to do as we raise our children. Cheers to you, brother. Cheers to her. Happy birthday. And tell her she could use to lose a little weight, though. It's on her birthday. She'll be happy to just bring her down a little bit. Like, we don't want her too high on this. All wives can be taken down a peg from time to time. Gunnar says Robert Rodriguez should buy the Rooster Teeth Studios at the old Austin airport. He's next door and can use it to film Machete, Attila, and Spy Kids movies to the end of time. Yes, he should do that. Chris Way says, yes, why wouldn't I? Well, because it's not worth $100. It's maybe worth like 30. All right, here we go. We got to get into... Why are you guys distracting me? We got to get into this fucking document. Gerd Oil says you need to gain some weight. I'll briefly address this. Yes, Gerd Oil, I do. So here's the cool thing. I was intentionally losing weight. I got down to my target weight. I got a couple pounds low and was building back to where I wanted to be until I get back to a gym and can add muscle weight versus just like I'm trying to be a skinny fat right now. Eliminate extra body fat, but just be kind of cool or whatever. But I do want to build up some muscle, which will add weight in numbers, but not like in flabbiness. I didn't get around to that though, because I got a little bit below my target weight, was adding some weight back, and then I got the flu, and I lost like several more pounds. So today I'm about 7 pounds lower than where I want to be. Yesterday I was 9 pounds lower than where I wanted to be. So I am eating, trying to keep, or no, that was 2 days ago. No, it was yesterday. That's right. Yeah, it was on the last stream. I am trying to eat and keep the weight up. The flu has made it really fucking difficult. And it's not voluntary at this point. It's literally just like, I don't want to do anything at all. But thank goodness, the flu is going away. But yeah, I overshot my target a little bit, and then the flu made it fucking worse. So we'll get there. Jerry says, enough excuses, stop drinking. But if I don't drink liquor, where will I get calories? Have you thought about that? All right, here we go. Let's get into this fucking document. So this is, again, we're going back to the opinion of Amy Coney Barrett, just to refresh on this, because I was a little gone by the time we got to this last night. So Justice Barrett, concurring in part and concurring in the judgment. She says, I joined parts 1 and 2B of the court's opinion. Good job, Amy. I agree that states lack the power to enforce Section 3 against presidential candidates. Of course they do. It would be turmoil. It'd be stupid. And that principle is sufficient to resolve this case, and I would decide no more than that. So she says, that's all I would do. States can just not determine the fate of a presidential candidate. And she says it shouldn't be more than that. I don't necessarily agree with her. I do think this is an opportunity to set some guidelines, and I think the court taking it is not a big deal. This suit was brought by Colorado voters under state law and state court. Yeah, but the state law and the state court and the Colorado voters in this were all stupid. It does not require us to address the complicated question whether federal legislation is the exclusive vehicle through which Section 3 can be enforced. It doesn't, but it kind of is the exclusive vehicle through which Section 3 could be enforced. Again, let's just ignore Amy Coney Barrett and her like super thoughtful thing where she's like going to try and find a nuanced approach to how you disqualify a president. Let's just go very simple here. The only way to remove a president is by either impeachment or the 25th Amendment. That's it. There's the only ways to remove a president. Impeachment is impeachment articles brought by the House, plenary authority by the House of Representatives, and then an impeachment trial brought by the Senate, which is plenary authority of the Senate to run the trial in the way that they do. The only thing we know is that the Chief Justice must preside over a president who's being impeached. Chief Justice did not preside over Trump's second impeachment because he was, quote unquote, no longer president, but he was impeached as president. And I think that John Roberts should have presided. And I don't think the second impeachment is actually valid because of that. But that's a question for a different day. If Trump gets reelected, they could actually, in theory, the Senate could run a second trial of Trump on impeachment. They could. I don't know that they will, but they could do that and argue that since the Chief Justice didn't preside, it wasn't an actual impeachment trial. But whatever. The Senate has plenary authority to run the impeachment trial, subject to a couple restrictions in the Constitution that are there when impeaching a president specifically. That's it. 25th Amendment allows the president's vice president and cabinet members to go ahead and remove a president due to incapacity. Usually what you're talking about here is, let's say the president gets knocked unconscious because he tried to play basketball against Dennis Rodman. And Dennis Rodman rejected his dunk so hard that President Trump got thrown into the ground like Goku on a bad training bender. And he cratered into the ground. He gets knocked out. Well, then the vice president needs to be able to respond to a nuclear threat or some military threat or whatever as commander in chief. There's certain roles of the president that cannot be delayed or pushed aside or wait for the president to wake up if you don't know. So the 25th Amendment allows the vice president and the joint chiefs and the cabinet to make a decision that the president can't make decisions right now, we're going to give this to the vice president, which is why the 25th Amendment also has provisions for the president to challenge it, because it's not an impeachment. It is not something based on behavior or some sort of underlying criminal idea. The idea is literally that the president is unconscious unexpectedly. We need someone who can act while he's unconscious. If the president wakes up and challenges the 25th Amendment claim, he actually wins automatically until the other side, counter challenges. And then this process starts by which the president can be stripped of his power. But we're talking about mental infirmity, mental incapacity, something like Alzheimer's, something like dementia, something like Joe Biden, where a president or a person cannot actually stand up there and do the job. So they have to get them out of there. Not because they did something wrong or treasonous to the country or commit some crime or pooped in the yard or whatever, or our Michelle Obama. None of those things actually matter. The only thing that matters is this president. The 25th Amendment is a compassionate amendment to compassionately remove power from someone who shouldn't have it anymore based on their existing mental state. Impeachment is the removal of someone for doing bad things. Those are way different. But those are the only two mechanisms by which a president can be handcuffed effectively and then removed from office. So by adding that the 14th Amendment allows a state to go ahead and hamstring a presidential candidate and prevent him from attaining office based on something he's not convicted of, it's pandemonium. You can't do that shit. If you want a president removed from power, if you want a president removed from office or decision-making capacity, impeachment or the 25th, that's the only way. And if you subvert that, you go against the plenary authority of Congress in terms of impeachment, and then you go against the plenary authority of the executive branch in terms of the cabinet and the vice president to go ahead and rectify the problems with a president who, and seriously, it could just be his tonsils are getting taken out because he's too busy sucking Michelle Obama's dick. I don't know. Whatever it is, whatever he has to go under for. A lot of times the presidents of the United States, they're elderly statesmen. They go in for a prostate exam and they have to be put under anesthesia. They go out, right, for like an hour. And then some doctor plays the butt video game where he shoves a little tube with a camera on it in a president's butthole, and he's the happiest man on earth because he's exploring a president's butt, and he's sitting there doing that for a while. The president will actually sign over power to the vice president temporarily while he's unconscious, or again, that's a case where the 25th Amendment could be enacted because the president's literally unconscious on ketamine or whatever he's on, and you can't do anything about it. He can't act. So Trump didn't do that, though. Trump said, no, I don't like Mike Pence. I don't trust that little weaselly guy. He's got flies around his head. It's very weird. Very weird. I'm going to stay conscious. I want you to anesthetize me, but only from the balls up. And I want you to put that camera in me, doctor, so hard that you get to look around. You get to feel around, and I get to feel around too, if you know what I'm saying. So Trump did that. He actually refused going unconscious for his colonoscopy and decided to stay conscious because he didn't want to pass power on to Mike Pence or anyone else. But that's what the 25th is for, is this concept that, there's a medical emergency. There's something unexpected that comes up and the president can't do his job. We need someone else to do it. So again, not plenary authority of Congress, but plenary authority of the executive branch to execute against the president, who's the chief of the executive branch. And with it comes a whole shitload of caveats and a whole bunch of procedure that says you can only do this under these circumstances. He can fight this way. The president can retain his power immediately by just challenging this. They can do that. All they have to do is say, no, you don't get to take it. And they get it back. And then the other side is 4 days to respond. And then the president has time to respond. And they go through a literal challenge as to whether or not the president is competent, which the real test of that is, can they file all the fucking paperwork? That's the first thing. But yeah, if you start adding in this 14th Amendment claim where Colorado can say, oh yeah, president's not fit. Sorry. We don't think so. And you're like, but you guys are a bunch of stoners who put cheese on your waffles or whatever. That's gross. And the Coloradans are like, cheese on waffles is good. And that's why we should invade them and kill. But they No, they do this thing where they're like, yeah, but the president can't make these decisions because he's an insurrectionist. You don't get to choose that. He's not convicted of insurrection. You get to just decide that he is because some retard in Congress said so. And then you have this weird balance of powers being shifted because, again, you have to consider the question of what if Colorado disqualifies Trump for Colorado, but Trump wins? What happens then if he gets the electoral votes and he becomes the nominee or the president of the United States? Colorado says he's invalid. Oh, is he? What are you going to do about it? Are you in rebellion now? What does that mean? We don't know. States can't have this authority. It's too partisan. It's too political. It's too stupid. And if we give states the power to have that authority, what they will do is be done with it, and they'll do a political thing when they shouldn't, and they'll fuck everything up. That's what the court says here. Oh shit! James Gardner says PPP said you were unhealthy and only eat Cheetos crumbs and tiny Snickers. Okay, first of all, tiny Snickers are delicious. If you've never eaten a tiny Snickers, it's like aspirin, but Snickers form. Cheetos crumbs are gross. I prefer a full Cheeto. And if anybody is ever taking health advice from PPP, guys, his belt size is measured in famous mountains. Like, he's a fat piece of shit who can barely breathe. Whatever. I like PPP. He's funny, but the guy's an embarrassment to human health. So if he says I'm unhealthy, good, great, that's fine. I don't trust his health advice at all, to the point where if he says I'm unhealthy, I'm probably the healthiest I could possibly be. He says he was in a dumpster Santa robe in February. This makes me think you're all good. Oh yeah, exactly. Correct. Thank you, James Gardner. Yeah, if PPP says I'm unhealthy, I know I'm healthy, because PPP would call up a donut shop and tell them that they're selling vegan food. He has no concept of health. Or like, but he is funny though. Like, I like him. What's up? What's up, PPP? How you doing? I don't even remember. What's his name? Autism? Histrionic? No, it's not histrionic. Bipolar? No. I think it's autism. What is PPP's real name? Like, unironically, what is it? I can't remember. But you do look unhealthy. I've had the flu for 9 days, guys. I've had the fucking flu. My color's off. My temperature's off. My attitude's off. My everything's off. I feel terrible. But I can't take every day off the show either. So, yes, I look terrible. I know I have the goddamn flu. It's been horrid. All I want to do is put my face in a vat of hydrochloric acid and try and breathe it in. Ashton, that's his name. His name is Ashton. What's up? Like, I like PPP. His name is Ashton, apparently, which is way less letters than his weight would suggest. Indiana the dog says, can't a governor just send electors not voted for by their people and force the people to sue? I mean, they could try, but it is typically the state legislatures that have the authority there. Maladministered federal elections don't empower another state or the feds to real-time fix that bad state. They actually should. That's the courts, though. So anyway, Amy, we're going to go back to Amy Coney Barrett. I've been reading too many fucking chats. This is all your fault. It's entirely your fault, noobs. Oh, wait. Sylvia's daughter says, Nick, you're looking too sickly. Please rest. See a doctor. Rest. I'm actually, narcolepsy is forcing me to rest. Seeing a doctor. I just saw a doctor incidentally right before I got sick. I don't know what to tell you. I'm literally in the best health of my entire life. All of my scary numbers have gone down. All of my good numbers have gone up. I'm right in my target BMI. I know it's weird because you're used to seeing fat, gross people. And you're like, oh my God, fat people are the norm. They're not. They're not the norm. They're not the ideal body shape. America has a skewed vision of health. But that being said, like, all of my doctor numbers, including my liver, which I'm always surprised by, and my kidney, they're all good. Everything's great. My blood tests are good. My urine tests are good. Everything's fine. Rest, I'm resting a shitload more than I want to do, but narcolepsy does that. But thank you for the concern. I don't know what else to tell you. No one will believe me on that, but it's fine. I don't know what to say. Pinochet's helicopter tour says 3 ways to remove a president: 25th Amendment, impeachment, and the CIA, which is true. Jim Satala says, you say you're reading too many chats and then you're like a dog who sees a squirrel and you chase right after it. Yes. Yes, Jim. I know. Look. Hypocrisy is a talk on a serial. Here we go. Back to Amy Coney Barrett. The majority's choice of a different path leaves the remaining justices with a choice of how to respond. So she's saying that she would have just stopped and said the states can't decide this. We don't need to find a test. We don't need to determine that the Section 5 of the 14th Amendment is the sole way for this to be created, whatever. The majority's choice of a different path leaves the remaining justices with a choice of how to respond. In my judgment, this is not the time to amplify disagreement with stridency. Thanks, Amy. That doesn't mean any. This is not the time, is not the answer I want from a justice. Let me be very clear on this. I supported the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett and her approval to the Supreme Court, but saying at this time, this is not appropriate. No, the entire purpose of the court is that at this time is always now, and now always doesn't consider time. No, the right answer is the right answer. That's it. There's nothing else to do. You just answer the legal question legally, and that's the only thing that matters. So here we go. Back to this. The court has settled a politically charged issue in the volatile season of a presidential election, particularly in this circumstance. Writings on the court should turn the national temperature down, not up. Sean Paul. I got the right temperature to shelter you from the storm, or whatever. For present purposes, our differences are far less important than our unanimity. All 9 justices agree on the outcome of this case. That's true. They don't agree that the court went as far as it did and created a test that has to be written by Congress. That is the message Americans should take home. They're not going to take it home. They're literally going to read it from their home. They don't need to take it anywhere. They have phones, Amy. Pinochet's helicopter tours says, Nick, you're kind of looking like Matt Damon in Courage Under Fire. If you ever need to talk, I'm here, man. Oh my God. The amount of people who have reached out to me to talk. Guys, if you want to talk to me about my health, please just do yoga until you can suck your own cock. Like, try it. It's more progressive and productive for you. I'm sick. I'm fucking sick. I feel terrible. Yes, I lost more weight than I wanted to because I'm literally sick and I can't fucking eat. It's awful. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. I hate the internet. So here we go. Chaotic Frosty says, should Supreme Court justices have term limits? No, they should not. Actually, that's the opposite of what they should do. The reason they have lifetime appointments is because they're supposed to be a political ballast of a particular point. Of a particular point in history where they're nominated and appointed and approved. All of that, they're cementing the political ideology of the presidency and the people in that moment. And that's important. That's supposed to balance against the tumultuous political turmoil that happens with the House of Representatives in 2-year terms, the president in 4-year terms, and the Senate in 6-year terms. This lifetime appointment is ballast against the changing political whimsy of the country. Okay, so here we go. This is Sonia Sotomayor's judgment, her concurrence, in which Kagan and Jackson concurred, which means that Ketanji, oh wait, no, Justice Jackson is Ketanji Brown Jackson. I always think she's Jackson Brown because my dad likes Jackson Brown. And she's black, so the brown at the end makes more sense. But yeah, So this is the liberal justices. That's it. So Sonia Sotomayor is stupid, and you have to understand that. So here's what we will get from her. Quote, if it is not necessary to decide more to dispose of a case, then it is necessary not to decide more. Citing Dobbs versus Jackson, this is the decision that overturned Roe versus Wade, which has nothing to do with this at all. Chex Mixer says, hey, Gollum, let Rackets know we need a healthy presidential leader that's not a geriatric amnesiac or a geriatric orange. Hope you feel better, man. Dude, I seriously cannot wait till I was talking to Lady Rackets today. And I was like, it's only been like 9 days only. But I told her, I'm like, I don't remember what it feels like to be healthy. She's like, I know. I don't get it. And I'm like, I don't remember what it feels like to not wake up and have congestion and pressure and shit and feel like just fucking sleeping for the rest of my life until I die. I don't remember what that feels like. And I can't wait until the sickness is entirely gone. So I do, because it's shitty. But yeah, no, I get you. I can't cancel every show though. Still have to do a show. Still have to bring you guys the news. Still have to be peachy and cheery as a motherfucker. I'm a happy motherfucker. I still have to do all those things, but in the context of the sickness, it's like work to do it, and it sucks because this should just be a thing where I sit down and have a good time rather than like try and push through whatever's going on in here. But yeah, as soon as God, I can't wait to be healthy. So here we go. That fundamental principle of if you don't need to decide more, it's necessary to not decide more. This has never been a thing the Supreme Court has adhered to. The Supreme Court always oversteps the question and then creates some new thing because that's what they do. That fundamental principle of judicial restraint is practically as old as our republic. Nope. This court is authorized, quote, to say what the law is only because, quote, those who apply a rule to a particular case must of necessity expound and interpret that rule, citing Marbury versus Madison. Now, this is great, guys. You have to understand. Sotomayor is so fucking retarded that she cites Marbury versus Madison as an example of judicial restraint. But if you know anything about Marbury versus Madison, like if you've seen me bitch about it or anybody else, even if you agree with the outcome, okay? Even if you agree with the outcome of Marbury versus Madison, you have to understand this. The Supreme Court in Marbury versus Madison took power that is not enumerated in Article 3 of the Constitution. This idea of judicial review, stare decisis, deciding what the law is, and creating binding precedent isn't in Article 3. It's not there. And they said on a case that did not require them to answer this question, they said, we will determine what the law is, and we will state what the law is, and everybody else will follow. So in Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court went outside of Article 3 to kneecap both Article 1 and Article 2, the legislative and executive branches. They said, our authority supersedes your enumerated powers, Congress and the presidency, because we're the court and we get to say what the law means, what the law is. And the fact that Sotomayor she adds this as a reference, she uses it as a citation for interpreting a rule. Marbury versus Madison is a question of whether or not the court can issue writs of mandamus to force a new Secretary of State to send commissions to people appointed by a former president who was on the way out when their commissions didn't get delivered during his term. That's what the court has to answer. You know how the court answered that question? The court answered that question as, we are the Supreme Court. We say what the law is and what the law isn't, and our decision is binding upon all future generations forever. That's what they said. Did they answer the question of, should this guy be forced to by writ of mandamus to issue a commission to this officer who's appointed by the prior president? No, they never answered that. They just said, we're fucking important and you're not. It's the dumbest fucking case on the planet. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. And I hate everybody who just agrees with it. Alligan News says, maybe we should do reenactment of gut pick to check your health. Can you show us the cat painting? You don't want to see my stomach right now. Like, if you want to fight me on my stomach, oh, buddy, you're gonna look at yourself in the mirror and go, oh God, what am I doing with my life? This loser has a way thinner stomach than I do. We're not gonna go there. If you want that, go to locals. I'll post a picture. I'll post a picture of just my stomach, and it'll be my stomach eating yours. Just kidding. So here we go. Root of Matt Damon. Mandamus. God damn it. So here we go. Today, the court departs from that vital principle, deciding not just this case, but challenges that might arise in the future. That's fine. That's fine in this instance, because not only might they arise in the future, but they might arise like tomorrow. These challenges may arise in the very fucking near future. They may arise in the immediate vicinity because Trump is going to be sued constantly. All right. In this case, the court must decide whether Colorado may keep a presidential candidate off the ballot on the grounds that he is an oath-breaking insurrectionist. This is a big thing that all the liberal media really was happy that Sotomayor said, because they're like, oh, she's saying he's an oath-breaking insurrectionist. No, actually, she's not. She's saying that if we take the argument from the states, they say he's an oath-breaking insurrectionist, and therefore that's how they're measuring whether or not they should keep him on the ballot. And thus disqualified from holding federal office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Real quick, Section 3 does not disqualify anybody. Section 3 is actually a way to re-qualify someone. The implied authority is in Congress to disqualify a candidate for office or an office holder based on their insurrection. Typically, that's done through a criminal conviction, and then Congress presumably would remove them. They'd create a law that would remove them. But there's no law to allow the removal of anybody. There is a law to allow reinstatement of someone who had been removed, as long as 2/3 of the House and Senate approve. Pony Up says, you have a New England complexion while living in the Midwest. What's the New England complexion? And you're originally Southern. That's true. You're a regional chimera with the best and worst idiosyncrasies you could ask for in a streamer. Yes, that's true. Thank you. I love that compliment. Thank you. Allowing Colorado to do so would, we agree, create a chaotic state by state patchwork at odds with our nation's federalism principles. Okay, good job, Sotomayor. That is enough to resolve this case. Yet the majority goes further, even though, quote, all 9 members of the court agree that this independent and sufficient rationale resolves this case. 5 justices go on. Although Amy Coney Barrett said the same thing in her concurrence. Jin Wong says, Nick, you sound like you're dying on the slopes of Mount Doom. Where's your Samwise? He's a fag. He went off to fuck Gollum. Also, if you grow out your hair and beard, you'll look like Rasputin. I don't want to grow out my hair and beard. The top of my hair, I like being long. It's nice and luscious and thick, like a black man. It's nice and luscious and thick. I do need to go in and get my sides trimmed and the back of my hair trimmed and cleaned up. That's what I've been doing lately, and that's what I'll do when I get a chance. But I am dying on the slopes of Mount Doom. My Samwise is not giving me lambus bread. So back to this. They decide novel constitutional questions to insulate this court and petitioner from future controversy. Although only an individual state's action is at issue here, the majority opines on which federal actors can enforce Section 3 and how they must do so. The majority announces that a disqualification for insurrection can occur only when Congress enacts a particular kind of legislation pursuant to Section 5 of the 14th Amendment. Now, the funny thing is that the insurrection statute has existed for a really fucking long time, and it specifically lays out that anyone convicted of this cannot be an office holder in the United States. In doing so, the majority shuts the door on other potential means of federal enforcement. What other means could you have? We cannot join an opinion that decides momentous and difficult issues unnecessarily. We therefore concur only in the judgment. So Sotomayor is saying we don't agree because the majority is saying only Congress can create a law that will allow the enforcement of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But again, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is not actually the removal of a politician or an office holder. It is the restoration. That's what's funny here. The insurrection clause is about the restoration of an insurrectionist's rights to run for Congress or Senate or some state office. It has nothing to do with removing them and their ability to do so. But hey, them's the ropes. That's what they've decided is true because they're stupid. I don't know how else to say it. That's what it is. But here's the deal, though. They're sitting here saying Congress enacts a particular kind of legislation. They have this legislation. They have a law that says anyone who's convicted of insurrection under the section cannot hold office. And that's a nod and an homage to the 14th Amendment. If you go back in time, like Huey Lewis in the News, you'll find out that the original statutes around this that happened in the late 1860s were Congress making statutes about who does and doesn't qualify to run for office. And they're open and notorious, and they're based on their participation in obvious insurrection, which was a civil war. Way different than what Donald Trump did, right? The Civil War is a battle lines condition with competing troops, troop lineups, generals with competing uniforms, literally setting up a war, a civil war in the United States and fighting it. It was really easy to identify those people, and yet Congress still did. And then they pardoned them, or not really pardoned, but they allowed them to hold office as they got elected. I think all except one guy was allowed to hold office again because part of Abraham Lincoln's idea of healing was we don't get to hold this rebellion over these rebels. We want to embrace them. We want to bring them back into the fold of the Union because preserving the Union was more important than going, you guys rebelled. They know they rebelled. They were there. They knew. And Lincoln's like, we don't care that they rebelled. All we care about now is, are they still rebelling, or are they working for the common good of the United States? And so Congress was able to remove that defect. But they had a way to enforce the insurrection disqualification at that time. They passed a law that just said, hey, these guys can't fucking do it. Why now we're appalled by this notion is stupid. But Trump didn't engage in insurrection. That's the main point here. Okay, so here we go. Cryptoki says, Nick, would love your insight. Tom's Hardware says, fucking hell. Microsoft engineer begs FTC to stop Copilot's offensive image generator. Our tests confirm it's a serious problem. Look, offensive image generators are funny to me, so I never want to stop them. I want offensive image generators to ruin everybody's life. Okay, let's get back to this. A couple more minutes. We're not going to do a Rumble flip today. I like this multi-stream thing, YouTube and Rumble. We're going to stay here. We're going to stay inside this booty, and we're going to just have a nice time, be nice and warm or whatever. But I am going to take a break, go check on everybody because, again, we're all tired of being sick, but everybody is still fucking sick. So, although only an individual state's action is at issue here, the majority opines on which federal actors can enforce Section 3, how they must do so. The majority announces that a disqualification for insurrection can occur only when Congress enacts a particular kind of legislation pursuant to Section 5, 14th Amendment. Yes. In doing so, the majority shuts the door on other potential means of federal enforcement. What would they be? We cannot join an opinion that decides momentous and difficult issues unnecessarily. We therefore concur only in the judgment. Our Constitution leaves some questions to the states while committing others to the federal government. Federalism principles embedded in that constitutional structure decide this case. States cannot use their control over the ballot to, quote, undermine the national government, citing term limits versus Thornton. That danger is even greater, quote, in the context of a presidential election, citing Anderson versus Celebrezzi. State restrictions in that context, quote, implicate uniquely important national interests extending beyond a state's own borders. No doubt, states have significant authority over presidential electors and, in turn, presidential elections, citing Schiaffalo versus Washington. That power, however, is limited by other constitutional constraints, including federalism principles. The majority, and again, so in the Constitution, constitutional analysis, you have constitutional barriers. So this is the entire federal government, the legislative branch, the executive branch, the judicial branch, and then technically the administrative branch and the voting branch are the fourth and fifth, but ignore those. So 1, 2, and 3. You have this conflict of power between them. That's a constitutional question on the conflict of powers. Federalism adds a different layer because federalism goes downwards. Federal government, state government, municipal or county, municipal, and then super local or whatever. These little offices like the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, etc. Those all exist at these local levels. You have a different question here. It's a federalism question because the federal government is here, and now these are state or municipal actors, and their actions can bind a federal officer or agent or a federal candidate if we allow them to. So you have this thing going. It's like, this isn't Congress versus the judiciary or the executive. This is a state versus the federal government. And can a state hamper and hamstring a federal government? My answer is no. Cryptogi says, lol, thanks. But I meant about the Microsoft employees' complaints that AI generated images resembling Mickey Mouse constitutes copyright infringement. Is there merit to this? I don't know, but I'm going to say no because Microsoft employees are retarded and Mickey Mouse is gay. So here we go. The majority rests on such principles when it explains why Colorado cannot take petitioner off the ballot. State-by-state resolution of the question whether Section 3 bars a particular candidate for president from serving, the majority explains, quote, would be quite unlikely to yield a uniform answer consistent with the basic principle that, quote, the president represents all of the voters in the nation. That is especially so, the majority adds, because different states can reach conflicting outcomes concerning the same candidate, not just from differing views on the merits, but from variations in state law governing the proceedings to enforce Section 3. Yes, of course they can. And this is actually critically important because if any state can decide that its state law is sufficient to find that Donald Trump's an insurrector or any president is an insurrector, they can remove them from the ballot very quickly. They can allow a county attorney to run roughshod over the president of the United States and disenfranchise people, millions of people in other states. And that is something we don't want. Cryptogi says, my concern is that AI image generation is a powerful tool for satire. I suspect that would be what drives attempts to clamp down generating recognizable figures in some effort to prevent harm. No, it's not going to be satire. It's going to be October surprises of all these politicians fucking little kids. That's the AI that's coming. And it's the AI that's going to eventually break us all from trusting images on the internet when it comes to politicians. And that'll be good for politicians in the long run, but they're stupid. So they're going to fight against it. They're going to say, oh my God, I didn't do this sex thing with this minor. It's like, well, we know you did, but you didn't take pictures. The AI figured it out. Anyway, they're going to have that come in. It's going to be some deep fake. It's going to look like a politician. They're going to look and sound like the politician, and they're going to be, engaged in some illegal or unlawful or wanton activity. It's going to impair their ability to campaign, and that's going to be it. They're going to be done. And that's when they will start acting against AI and all this other stuff in a practical manner, but they don't know what to do because it's not them. Like if I make a meme of Ted Cruz sucking a whale penis, like it's not actually him, that's Amy Schumer, and I just layered his face over it. But they can't fix that. They can't stop it. There's nothing they can do, and they don't know how to remedy it. But the real answer is like, yeah, the more fake AI, deep fake porn and shit that's out there about you, the less real any of it is. With that, guys, I'm not going to flip to Rumble. Like I said, I am going to go. to the bathroom, check on the wife and kids. I'll be back in just a couple minutes, and we'll keep going with the show. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you watch the show.
He drank a fair bit and then realized that his bladder can't handle the liquor inside, leaving us with his chair while he runs up the stairs, hoping the stream doesn't suddenly die. While we are waiting, we'll be laughing at you. The drinking along is what most of us do. The chat is united, getting excited. What you have for us when your feeling is through. When you have small bladder and no sphincter control, freedom of liquor doesn't mean freedom from soaking your drawers. Now you're washing your hands and you realize that you've forgotten to scrub both the front and the back. Then you'll grab a quick bite, kiss your lady goodnight, and remember to thank her for all of the snacks. Whoa, water will cure your hangover. Oh, so drink some when the stream is over. When you have small bladder and no sphincter control, freedom of liquor doesn't mean freedom from soaking your drawers. Soaking your drawers. He drank a fair bit and then realized that his bladder can't handle the liquor inside, leaving us with his chair while he runs up the stairs, hoping the stream doesn't suddenly die. While we are waiting, we'll be laughing at you. The drinking along is what most of us do. The chat is united, getting excited. What you have for us when your feeling is through. When you have small bladder and no sphincter control, freedom of liquor doesn't mean freedom from soaking your drawers. Now you're washing your hands and you realize that you've forgotten to scrub both the front and the back. Then you'll grab a quick bite, kiss your lady goodnight, and remember to thank her for all of the snacks. Whoa, water will cure your hangover. Oh, so drink some when the stream is over. When you have small bladder and no sphincter control, freedom of liquor doesn't mean freedom from soaking your drawers.
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry for the delay. Like I said, the Rackets household has been racked with illness lately. I got to go check on the kids. I got to check on Lady Rackets and make sure everybody is good. Thank you for bearing with me through that. We're going to just keep going here. We're not going to do the Rumble switch tonight. Tech Crisis says, I hear they're redoing the Dallas Buyers Club. You're perfect for the role. First, you're gay. With the flu, you looked the part. Yeah, I've never actually watched the movie. I want to watch it. And I have not. Okay, here we go. Saved by Pope Ragged says, how much nip would a ceiling cat nip if a ceiling cat could nip catnip? More. Ceiling cats have problems with catnip because catnip follows the normal rules of gravity and ceiling cats don't. They're stuck up on the top. And like to come down here, it's like the same way as if we were to try and jump to the ceiling, a cat would have to try and jump to the floor, and they can't do that. So it's not good. They don't get catnip at all. Not Alfarius says, a toast to Nick's chair for being such an entertaining and charismatic speaker while Nick is away. Chair kept the show from becoming a disaster. True. Chair is a balancing and stabilizing force. He's fantastic. And well, I don't know if it's he or she. I don't know. But big shout out to Danny on Direct, who's in the chat. She's always awesome. Guys, go check out Danny's channel on YouTube, Rumble, wherever you may find her. She's a great streamer, great lawyer, and she has a bunch of insight and information to help you out with. Also, she's like funny or whatever, I guess. Arclight says, are the ceiling cats in the room with you right now? I wish I would get up to the roof to pet them. Okay, we're going to go back to this. Sorry for the delay. We're going to kick into this. The contrary conclusion that a handful of officials in a few states could decide the nation's next president would be especially surprising with respect to Section 3. Yes, it'd be pandemonium and chaos and fucking gross. The Reconstruction Amendments, quote, were specifically designed as expansion of federal power and an intrusion on state sovereignty, citing City of Rome versus United States. Yes, again, Reconstruction following the Civil War was all about the fact that the states had too much power during the Civil War and the federal government didn't have enough authority to rein them in. That's why we got the 14th Amendment. That's why the 14th Amendment applies substantive due process rights through the states and municipal governments to people, and is this way for you to have access and protection from what local governments do to you. Section 3 marked the first time the Constitution placed substantive limits on a state's authority to choose its own officials. Given that context, it would defy logic for Section 3 to give states new powers to determine who may hold the presidency. Of course. Gnostic Man 00 says the chair is definitely one thing, black. Oh my God. I hope it doesn't have any kids. Quote, it would be incongruous to read this particular amendment as granting the states the power, silently no less, to disqualify a candidate for federal office. That provides a secure and sufficient basis to resolve this case. To allow Colorado to take a presidential candidate off the ballot under Section 3 would imperil the framers' vision of a federal government directly responsible to the people. The court should have started and ended its opinion with this conclusion. But that's not the framers' vision. That's the Reconstructionist vision after the Civil War in 1866. Matt W. says the movie Sneakers was right. Too much information. Sneakers is a good movie. I like that. The Real Man says, yeah, what about P. Diddy text messages? I hope to bring on either lead attorney or AV to the seventh power or both of them to get the black perspective on the P. Diddy text messages. I've heard they're a fucking riot. I want to read them, but I want to do it right. Okay, so here we go. The whole thing here is that Sotomayor is saying the same thing Amy Coney Barrett does. We should not be allowing states to have the right to remove a candidate, and the court should have stopped there. Now, the court did go a little farther in saying that Congress is the only vehicle to create a mechanism to remove presidents. And that's true, though. It's under the amendment in the plain text under Section 5. So that's the whole purpose of this. So on to Section 2. Oh, we'll make this bigger. Giggity. Yet the court continues on to resolve questions not before us. Look, the court does that, though, all the time. The Supreme Court will always, if they need to, go farther than the underlying question because they may not see this point of law or this question of law again. And the reality here is that from 1867 to 2024, we haven't had this issue come up. So they're going to go farther. Are they going to go farther? Yes. They've got 150 years to go. Holy fuck. We haven't seen this question in 150 years. We got a chance now. We're going to go a little farther. Can lead attorney talk about super producers again? I hope so. I just hope he can do it like without getting too distracted. So here we go. In a case involving no federal action whatsoever, the court opines on how federal enforcement of Section 3 must proceed. Yeah, but you have to realize how important it is for the court to say, Section 5 of this constitutional amendment does exist, though. Like Section 5 exists and it says Congress shall, by appropriate legislation, enforce all provisions of this amendment. That's why it's there. So no, there's no federal action here, of course, but that doesn't matter because there is a clear direction in the amendment itself around this thing. Here, well, 1 second, guys. Sorry, I had to deal with something real quick. Not a big deal. But yes, like Section 5 of the amendment specifically lays out that Congress shall do this. And the court's just merely reminding everybody that there's a provision on how to handle this. And the fact that Colorado just ignored it doesn't make it like right. You don't get to just ignore the provision of the amendment. So Congress, the majority says, must enact legislation under Section 5 prescribing the procedures to ascertain what particular individuals should be disqualified. Yes, they actually did this back with the passage of the 14th Amendment after the Civil War. They created a scheme to disqualify people. That's the whole point of this thing, is that they did it. These musings are as inadequately supported as they are gratuitous. To start, nothing in Section 3's text supports the majority's view of how federal disqualification efforts must operate. Yeah, Section 3 isn't about disqualification. I really want people to remember this. Remember that Sotomayor is the dumbest person in any room she's in. If you took Sotomayor to Wendy's, she would try to buy a dishwasher because she's effectively retarded. Section 3 is not about the disqualification of a president or any other candidate due to insurrection. Section 3 is about the requalification and how it's done for any candidate. The weird presumption here that people seem to miss is that Congress has the ability to write a law that would allow them to disqualify anybody. And here's a list of ways that these particular people can be requalified by Congress. Again, a vote of 2/3 in the House or the Senate. That's all you need. And that's just the way it goes. That's just there. But that's requalification, not disqualification. The presumption is that Congress can do the disqualification on its own. But the reason Congress can't disqualify a president, though, is, again, that power is impeachment. Congress gets the ability to police their own houses. They can create rules. They can extract members. They can do whatever. And this just gives them a little more flexibility to do so under particular circumstances of the Civil War. That's great. But going after the president isn't part of the Civil War. It never was. Going after the vice president, same thing. So this amendment doesn't provide a framework for them to do that. Now, they could try to go ahead and do that. It'd be a violation of the balance of powers because, again, they have the power of impeachment. If they just said, oh, hey, we have this mechanism to remove the president, well, then the Supreme Court would have to rule on whether Congress can do that or not. But trying to do it through this legislation that they have is not going to work. But they do have legislation on insurrection. I would just want to point that out. Section 3 states simply that no person shall hold certain positions and offices if they're oath-breaking insurrectionists. Cool. Actually, it doesn't say that they're oath-breaking insurrectionists at all. It literally lists a group of people with a particular title or a particular status. And it says that those people cannot hold office unless Congress requalifies them. That's what it says. It doesn't say anything about an oath-breaking insurrectionist. It says that they took an oath. It doesn't actually say that they broke an oath. That's the weird thing here, because Sonia Sotomayor is so fucking stupid. The reality is that not that they broke an oath, but it's that they took an oath to support the Constitution and then instead decided to support somebody else who's opposed to the Constitution. That's not actually an oath breaking. I know that sounds weird, but you can still support the Constitution and support someone else who's opposed to it without breaking your oath, especially the oath that they take. But that oath is kind of fucking important. And it's also why this doesn't apply to Trump in the first place. So here we go. Nothing in that unequivocal bar suggests that implementing legislation enacted under Section 5 is critical, or for that matter, what that word means in this context. In fact, the text cuts the opposite way. No, it does. So Sotomayor is trying to right now rationalize a self-executing portion of the 14th Amendment that can't be self-executing. She's trying to say that you're an insurrectionist automatically by something, therefore you're removed from office. Again, you can say that there is a way to disqualify someone from holding office as an insurrectionist, because there's a federal law passed by Congress that says if you're found guilty of being an insurrectionist, you are not fit to hold any office under the United States. That's there. That exists. But saying that there's some other random mechanism isn't sufficient. The text cuts the opposite way. Section 3 provides that when an oath-breaking insurrectionist is disqualified, quote, Congress may by a vote of 2/3 of each house remove such disability. Yes. Again, it's about requalifying, not disqualifying. It is hard to understand why the Constitution would require a congressional supermajority to remove a disqualification if a simple majority can nullify Section 3's operation by repealing or declining to pass implementing legislation. The reason this is hard is, again, can I call you idiot? Can I call you fucking stupid idiot? When they wrote this article, the list of people that they provided was obvious because the Civil War had literally just happened. They weren't trying to figure out if some politician giving some speech and then some people at some other place deciding to go ahead and enter the Capitol building was insurrection. They weren't trying to figure that out. They knew there was an insurrection. There's literally armed sides of this. It was called the Civil War. They had little drummer boys and all sorts of shit that probably saw the worst things in their lives. But they had all that stuff going on. They even conscripted black soldiers to go die first. And none of that was a question of insurrection versus not insurrection. None of that was a question of whether or not the South itself was insurrecting against the North. Of course it was, because they lost. If they had won, the North would have been insurrecting against the South, but it doesn't matter. The South lost. They were insurrecting. Therefore, all of the people involved in that were insurrectionists. Very obviously, they literally had opposing colors on their uniforms and had battle lines drawn. This is not the same as Trump saying, you know what, I don't like these guys. They're trying to rig the vote. Let's go tell them about the votes. With the beautiful votes. We have a beautiful group of people who voted way harder than anybody else. Let's go talk to them. We're going to do that. We're going to fight for our rights like Beastie Boys. Like, he said that shit. That's not the same as literally picking up a musket or a cannon and firing it into people with a different uniform on. They didn't need to lay it out. They laid out all the people in the amendment that applied in 1866. They laid them all out. And then, by the way, spoiler alert, they removed the disability of all but like one of them. But that was the whole point. They didn't need legislation because it was obvious. Now you need the Insurrection Act, which exists. And it says if you're guilty of insurrection against the United States or the Constitution, then, oh, yeah, by the way, you can't hold office. That exists. It's there. They're trying to go beyond that and say that anything that some state determines as insurrection is sufficient to as a self-executing article that would remove a president from office. But that's not how it goes. All the Reconstruction Amendments, including the due process and equal protection guarantees and prohibition of slavery, are self-executing. Not true. Meaning that they do not depend on legislation. Not true. City of Born, versus Flores. But if you just look into the history of the 13th and 15th Amendments, yeah, that's not true. We still have the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act is still trying to implement the 15th Amendment. So to say that it's self-executing, it's not. The 15th Amendment, according to liberals, Democrats, and black people, the 15th Amendment is not sufficient on its own. And the Voting Rights Act is the thing that has actually granted black people the ability to vote. Similarly, other constitutional rules of disqualification, like the 2-term limit on the presidency, do not require implementing legislation. Yeah, because it's obvious if you've had 2 terms or if you've had 2 terms plus 1 day short of half of a 3rd term, then you're out. You're done. It's empirical. It's not subjective. And all you had to do here was just convict Trump of insurrection, but you can't. Nor does the majority suggest otherwise. It simply creates a special rule for the insurrection disability in Section 3. No, it doesn't. Section 5 creates the rule. The majority is left with next to no support for its requirement that a Section 3 disqualification can occur only pursuant to legislation enacted for that purpose, which is fine, by the way. If there's an insurrection, it should be obvious, and Congress should be able to respond appropriately and say, this was an insurrection. We know these people participated in it. They're going to be disqualified. That's not difficult. A mystery insurrection is the opposite of an insurrection. Insurrections are open and notorious. It cites Griffin's case, but that is a non-precedental lower court opinion by a single justice in his capacity as a circuit judge. Once again, even petitioner's lawyer distanced himself from fully embracing this case as probative of Section 3's meaning. The majority also cites Senator Trumbull's statements that Section 3, quote, provided no means for enforcing itself. That's true. But actually, no, I disagree, because Section 3 does provide a means for enforcing itself. Section 3 is about requalification of a candidate, not disqualification. Once you realize that, now it does have the means. The majority, however, neglects to mention the senator's view that, quote, it is the 14th Amendment that prevents a person from holding office, with the proposed legislation simply affording a more efficient and speedy remedy for effecting the disqualification. Cool. Ultimately, under the guise of providing a more complete explanation for the judgment, the majority resolves many unsettled questions about Section 3. It forecloses judicial enforcement of that provision, separation of powers, good, such as might occur when a party is prosecuted by an insurrectionist, and raises a defense on that score. Wait, Trump isn't prosecuting anybody. The majority further holds that any legislation to enforce this provision must prescribe certain procedures tailored to Section 3, ruling out enforcement under general federal statutes requiring the government to comply with the law. By resolving these and other questions, the majority attempts to insulate all alleged insurrectionists from future challenges to holding federal office. No, they do not. They simply say that if you want to find someone as an insurrectionist, get Congress to do it. Simple majority, name them an insurrectionist, or find some process by which a specific event is an insurrection event and people who would participate are labeled insurrectionists. Congress can do this very easily. They could have easily done it after the Civil War. They did, by the way, and they could disqualify people who participate in this shit. What it does today, the court should have left undone, quoting Bush versus Gore. The court today needed to resolve only a single question: whether an individual state may keep a presidential candidate found to have engaged in insurrection off its ballot. Found by the state without a sufficient cause of action, without a sufficient level of guilt. But we'll keep going. The majority resolves much more than the case before us. Although federal enforcement of Section 3 is in no way at issue, the majority announces novel rules. They're not novel. They've been there forever. For how that enforcement must operate. It reaches out to decide Section 3's questions, not before us, and to foreclose future efforts to disqualify a presidential candidate under that provision. Good. Lay it out. What is the process? It can't be created by the judiciary, and that's the important thing. The CB Project says you look really short. How tall are you? I'm 6'2.6", 6'2.5", whatever. Which is in a sensitive case, crying out for federal or for judicial restraint. It abandons that course. No, again, this is the whole thing. They know if they don't properly foreclose the avenues for disqualification of Trump, they're going to face 100 cases this year about it because it's going to keep going. So they just went ahead and said, yeah, Congress has to create a framework by which to disqualify people, and they should name them by name. Congress can do this easily. Congress can just disqualify Trump. You just by vote. They can just say, hey, he's disqualified. Here's the thing. We found he engaged in insurrection. Here's the insurrection report from the January 6th committee. Here's all that stuff. Since we've done that, he's disqualified. There. If we want to requalify him, cool. We can do that later. Section 3 serves an important, though rarely needed, role in our democracy. The American people have the power to vote for and elect candidates for national office, and that is a great and glorious thing. Except they don't want them to vote for who they want, right? Because Trump is who a big chunk of the country wants. The men who drafted and ratified the 14th Amendment, however, had witnessed an insurrection and rebellion to defend slavery. First of all, it wasn't an insurrection and rebellion to defend slavery. Second of all, yes, they had witnessed an actual insurrection and rebellion, which was battle lines drawn with literal armies back and forth, hundreds of thousands dead, not some whining about some people protesting on January 6th. They wanted to ensure that those who had participated in that insurrection and in possible future insurrections could not return to prominent roles. Actually, we have no idea that the possible future insurrections line is correct. The amendment itself does not give us guidance, and it very likely could have been for only the Civil War. Today, the majority goes beyond the necessities of this case to limit how Section 3 can bar an oath-breaking insurrectionist from becoming president. Although we agree that Colorado cannot enforce Section 3, we protest the majority's effort to use this case to define the limits of federal enforcement of that provision, because we would decide only the issues before us. We concur only in the judgment. And this is why, again, Sonia Sotomayor is the dumbest person in any room she's in. This is very simple. Of course, the Supreme Court is going to take the opportunity to define what enforcement of this provision looks like. They haven't had a chance in 140 years. They're going to try now. They're going to take that opportunity now to say, yeah, that Fifth Amendment thing, or the fifth the fifth section where it says you got to have Congress enforce it, that matters. They put it in there for a reason that matters. None of the other sections needed it. Congress needs to do this. Cool. Of course, they're going to take that opportunity. It's been 150 years. They finally are answering a question of Article 2, the power of the presidency versus the 14th Amendment in this specific case. Was this an insurrection? Can a state determine it's an insurrection? What do you need to do to determine it's an insurrection? All of those questions exist here, and yet they didn't want to ask any of them. They just wanted Colorado to be able to say, yeah, bro, he's deleted or whatever. But it can't be that. It cannot be that. And we got 9 justices to say so. But Sotomayor is like, well, I said so, but I didn't want them to go any farther than just saying that Colorado can't do it. Well, then you have to fight Maine. Then you have to fight Illinois. Then you have to fight everybody. Instead, the court says, hey, Congress can create an act that disqualifies someone individually, or that produces a procedure for other people to objectively disqualify someone. Really simple. And the questions would be easy. Have they been convicted of insurrection at the federal level? If not, sorry, you can't do it. Whatever that is. Here we have these mechanisms for doing this thing. They can provide shortcuts for the next questions. But if you don't do the thing first, then you don't get the shortcut. Sotomayor is like, well, I only would have decided Colorado can't do this. I wouldn't have decided anything else. It's like, bitch, you can't decide on what taco you like. You're dumb. You're an idiot. You don't know any of. She shouldn't be on the court. In fact, she shouldn't be on a basketball court. And by shouldn't be on a basketball court, I mean she shouldn't be painted on the fucking ground. She's retarded. She's the worst justice that exists currently, or maybe ever. So with that, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to the next sort of topic here. This is Fani Willis. Fani fucking Willis. This goddamn hoe. Let's see. Move on to the chair. God, I should just leave the chair streaming for hours. I can go to bed. Okay, let me give a brief preface on let me give a brief preface on Fani Willis and what's been going on. So Willis is the Fulton County attorney. She is the head prosecutor of Atlanta, effectively. If you want a nice breakdown of what's been going on behind the scenes with Fani Willis, go watch my appearance on AV to the Seventh Powers channel that happened just the other day. Yes, was that yesterday? That was yesterday. Great show. It went through some of the texts of Nathan Wade's former law partner, Terrence Bradley, to Donald Trump's, well, not Donald Trump's, one of his co-defendants attorneys, Ashley, whatever. It doesn't matter. We'll find out her name in a minute. But the entire thing here is that this former law partner of Nathan Wade was saying, hey, he and Fani Willis are lying about their relationship behind the scenes. But he's come forward, and when questioned, he didn't fess up. He fessed up in text messages, but not now. But anyway, because of that, because he had said things behind the scenes that he didn't want to put his name to at the front of the scenes. Now, when he came out, when he got subpoenaed and questioned, and he didn't answer the way that he was talking to people behind the scenes, now people are coming out and saying, oh, no, you motherfucker. This dude is lying on the stand. He's not lying other times. He has inconsistent statements. He's told us these things. So people are now going after Terrence Bradley, who again is the former law partner of Nathan Wade, who has suggested that Nathan Wade and Fani Willis have a long-standing physical, intimate relationship that goes before the Trump thing, which means they lied to the court, and which means that Fani Willis is approving money that's going to Nathan Wade that is benefiting her through these vacations and potentially through other stuff. All right. So this is happening. This has been going on. And this is in the context of the Trump interfering in Fulton County, Georgia, in the Atlanta election of 2020, in which he called Raffensperger and said, hey, we know there's more votes for us. We've seen the data. We want your data. We want to find these votes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the backstory here. But the key thing is Fani Willis and Nathan Wade both lied to the court. And they said, oh, our relationship started the day after I hired him. Very convenient. And that it didn't involve all of this other stuff. So there's no conflict here. And then Trump came in with these big cell phone records. And now after that, other attorneys from the county attorney's office are coming out and saying, hey, no, this is actually garbage, because they had originally circled the wagons. They weren't going to rat on her, because you don't rat on your boss if you want to keep your job, right? So here we go. Fani Willis case upended as prosecutor offers to testify against her. The fate of Fani Willis has been called into question once again after a Georgia prosecutor offered to testify against her, claiming another witness's testimony about her relationship with Nathan Wade was wrong. Yes, that's because that other witness has said shit that is contrary to what they're saying now. And that is really important. Because normally, if you're trying to say someone told me X, right? That's hearsay. That's hearsay. You don't get to introduce that evidence. It's excluded. An exception to hearsay is a prior inconsistent statement. So if Terrence Bradley told these people in text messages or whatever that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade had a relationship that pre-existed November 2nd or November 1st or whatever it was, but then got on the witness stand and said, I don't recall when it was. I don't recall this thing, or no, it was this time. They can now say, no, he told me this prior to that. That's an inconsistent statement. I want to impeach his testimony. I want to say that he's not being truthful before the court, and that instead, rather, he has this thing saying it's older than that. We want to get to the bottom of that, because you want the fact finder, the judge in this case, you want the fact finder to have all the information available. So that's what's going on right now. And it's really not good for Terrence Bradley. If they really want to get into it, he may have violated several ethical rules here, because he was counsel for Nathan Wade during the divorce, which means that he may have breached privilege in several places, but we don't actually know. So last month, Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney, gave evidence in a 2-day hearing following accusations by former Donald Trump staffer and co-defendant Michael Roman that she was having an affair with Wade. Wasn't really an affair. They just kind of did it. I don't know. Whatever. A special prosecutor she hired in the high-profile case is also alleged the pair had benefited financially from taxpayers' money. They definitely have. Definitely have. Willis and Wade later admitted they had a relationship and denied a conflict of interest. So originally they denied the relationship. Then they admit the relationship and says it's not a conflict. And then people keep fucking chipping away at this, and it's obviously a conflict. Timeline of their relationship has emerged as a key point of contention, and Roman has said it started earlier than they admitted. Trump's lawyers examined phone records alleging the pair were in a relationship before the Georgia election fraud case began. Newsweek contacted Willis via LinkedIn for comment. She's not gonna. If you respond to any comment on LinkedIn, you should be executed. One witness in the case was Terrence Bradley. So this is the guy we're talking about here. Wade's former divorce lawyer who gave evidence attesting the pair's relationship timeline was correct. But that's not what Bradley told everybody else behind the scenes. But in a Monday court filing, Cindy Lee Yeager, a co-chief deputy district attorney for Cobb County, Georgia, district attorney's office, said Bradley told her Willis and Wade's relationship began earlier than they started. And he also told that to Ashley, whatever, the lawyer for Trump's co-defendant. The filing by David Schaefer, a Trump co-defendant who, like Roman, has argued Willis should be removed from the case, said that Yeager claimed on Friday that Bradley had in the past told her that Wade and Willis met and started their romantic relationship in 2019, and Willis had told Bradley to keep it quiet. Oh, first of all, we just have to do this real quick. I'm sorry. I don't mean to do this to you or to her, but you have to understand that Fani Willis is hideous. Like that's the first and most important part. So here is Fani Willis real quick. Boom. That's Fani Willis right there. So when we're talking about this super desirable woman that this guy is taking all over the world, that is the sad state of our lives and livelihood. The booty better be great. Booty better be great, because that is not something I would endure ever. Ugh. Horrible. Where are we? God damn it. Back to here. We have Ellie Fan says, for a laugh, Harris County, Texas DA Kim Ogg, that's Houston, Texas here, went to vote on Tuesday and found out someone had already cast a ballot in her name. Ogg was against voter ID and claimed it racist. She conceded. Good. That's fantastic. I hate everybody. I like Houston. It's my favorite city. Not really, but it's pretty close. All right, here we go. The filing said in around September of 2023, Mr. Bradley was visiting Miss Yeager in her office when Mr. Bradley received a telephone call. Ooh, a telephone call. How vintage. Miss Yeager could hear that the caller was District Attorney Willis. District Attorney Willis was calling Mr. Bradley in response to an article that was published about how much money Mr. Wade and his law partners had been paid in the case. Ms. Yeager heard District Attorney Willis tell Mr. Bradley they're coming after us. You don't need to talk to them about anything about us. So here's another point of this. Bradley was, again, a law partner of Nathan Wade, and he was also hired by the Fulton County Attorney's Office. He was making a shitload of money. Wade was making more because he's given up that big D, but this guy's also making money. However, this guy gets removed from the firm because allegedly, Mr. Bradley has wandering eyes and hands towards the young female coworkers and staff and clients. I don't know anything about that. I don't get it. Bradley's like 350 pounds, so I don't know what's going on there. But hey, he gets cut out of the deal. And his deal is hundreds of thousands of dollars where he probably doesn't have to work too much. So it's a nice one, and he's out. Then he starts talking to everybody after that. So Fani Willis is like, oh, hey, they're coming after us. You don't need to talk to anybody about anything. It added, Ms. Yeager watched Mr. Bradley's testimony before the court and became concerned as a result of the fact that what Mr. Bradley testified to on the witness stand was directly contrary to what Mr. Bradley had told Ms. Yeager in person. So Willis is running the case against Trump and 18 others who are accused in a 41-count indictment trying to overturn the 2020 election loss in Georgia. Former president pleaded not guilty to all 13 charges against him and said the case is politically motivated because he is a frontrunner in the GOP presidential nomination. Following the hearing, Judge Scott McAfee will decide whether to remove Willis from the case. He said he will make his decision within the next 2 weeks. And that's actually really scary for commentators because they're like, if he's thinking of waiting that long, he's probably going to remove her. If he was going to keep her on, he would just go ahead and keep her on and then keep the schedule going. But now he's waiting up to 2 weeks. I don't think you should read anything into it. I think it's just a really complex case involving a former president, some novel questions, and there's no way to determine what is the actual sort of impetus behind the judge's motivations here. But long story short, this is bad for fucking Fani Willis. And it should be. She's clearly involved in a conflict of interest. She's clearly involved in self-dealing. And the mantra now is like, well, it's only this amount. I'm sorry, self-dealing only in the amount of $100 is illegal. So you don't get to go, oh, it's only like $4,000 several times a month. And the guy's like, well, she makes like one article is like, well, she makes $200,000. You're going to quibble over $3,500. Yes. People who make $200,000 a year don't automatically have just $3,500 to spend on a vacation. Like, that's not a thing. $200,000 a year is a great salary, great income. But when people live up to their income, they don't have extra money to go on a trip. So if this guy is using extra money that's approved by her from the taxpayers to then pay for a trip that she wouldn't have to otherwise pay for, her budget isn't impacted. Self-dealing is still bad. It's always bad, especially when it comes at the expense of the taxpayers who don't get any ability to consent or challenge to any of this stuff. They don't even see it. But hey, that's the ropes. So anyway, that's what's going on in this case. Fani Willis is garbage. She should be disqualified. Nathan Wade should be disqualified. If they are, the case against Trump isn't automatically gone. Someone else could take over, but it's going to be very difficult at this juncture, and they may just drop the case. So we'll see. Randall McCollum says, I feel for you, Nick. The flu is rough. Chicken noodle soup with veggies in it in small doses is something to try. I just blend up homeless people. Hope you recover soon, but I'm never letting you kiss me on the mouth again. I'll kiss you on the butthole next time. The Iceman says, Nate argues that it doesn't affect the case enough to dismiss the case outright. It's too late to be of consequence, he argues. I disagree because, look, if there is impropriety in her approving money for this guy, then you have to question the timeline of the case in its entirety and all of the decisions that go around it. If she's self-dealing through his billing, then every extra hour billed is questionable, which means that is this case being propagated, extended, or delayed to the prejudicial negative impact of Donald Trump because she just wants to keep making money? And then there's other considerations as well. I don't know if they're all in the complaint or if they're all as tangible, but the other considerations are her public profile, her political ambitions that follow the trial, all of that stuff all come from the ability to have this trial extend and extend and extend. Same with Nathan Wade. They have improper purposes that they may or may not be engaging in, but they definitely exist. And the appearance of impropriety in favor of those is strong. And we don't get to overlook that just because, like, well, they only self-dealt $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever to Fani Willis. Therefore, it's not that bad. No, it is that bad. It would be bad at $1, $10, $100, whatever it is. Now we're into multiple thousands of dollars, multiple times a month. And we go, what is the purpose of this prosecution? How can you prosecute a president for the things that Trump was trying to do? Because all of Trump's actions that are being prosecuted here in Fulton County seem to comport with the idea that he's questioning and investigating an election that seems to be sus. Ellie says, what's etched on the mule? RTX Austin 2022. And this is Pecos Pete's Natural Tea and Soda Company. I was down in Texas when I got this. They have a food truck. Okay. Let's Move on to the next topic. This one's not going to be too long. I need some headphones for this. We're going to listen to Trump's lawyer. Actually, not Trump's lawyer. Trump's co-defendant's lawyer on this issue being brought before the House and the Senate, or a Senate Judiciary Committee, I believe. And she's grilled on this one, and by a Democrat. And of course, the way that happens is the news slavering mass media is like, oh, she gets destroyed. So here we go. Let's take a peek at this. God damn it. Yes, I want to turn off my... The ad blocker is off on this site. Okay, hold on just a second. I hate everything about this. I also hate everything about everything else. Oh, I have to... Oh, God damn it. I have to archive this real quick. The Iceman says, I agree, Nick, but no one could argue against Nate on Hunley's show when he brought it up. Look, I would have loved to be the guy to argue against Nate. I love Nate. Having a vigorous disagreement with him is not a problem for me, and would have loved to argue against him on this. But Hunley's show is at a very bad time for me lately. He invites me almost every Friday, and I just can't make it. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I can make it in 2 days. Kind of depends on how things are going. Gary R. says, are you going to invite friends to watch the State of the Union? When's the State of the Union? Shit, that's coming up, isn't it? State of the Union. That is March 7th. Oh, shit, that's today at 8 a.m. No, 8 p.m. Fuck. Maybe. We'll see. Look, the union is a state, and then it's a union at the same time. It's a federal government. When I was growing up in Scranton, we didn't have states. A being. We didn't have matter. We just had plasma. So much plasma all over our faces and hands and chests and lower backs. I don't know why, but we didn't have states. We just had plasma. There were no other states. They were going on in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Hardworking blue-collar people. And man, were they working hard. Their hips and pelvises were thrusting harder than anything I've ever seen in my life. From then or till now. Even Jill Biden can't compete. She's a doctor. She's wonderful. An educator. Hey, Jill, how you doing? How you doing, Jill? The Scranton pegging is what she was called, the Scranton Peggy. I don't know why her name's not Peggy. Is not even close to it, but that's what she did when I was growing up and having all those black kids at the pool just touch my leg hair. And those little cockroach-riddled bastards touching my leg hair and just looking at me going, why is your leg hair white? And I was like, I don't know. I'm only 20. But I've lived a hard life. I was one of... I rode in a car of the Kennedys once. I almost drowned. But I didn't. Oh, my God. God damn it. I hate everything. This thing's almost archived. Once we get the archived webpage up, we'll pull this up. We'll watch the video of the Donald Trump co-defendant's lawyer getting destroyed by a Democrat senator. It should be great. Anonymous says Nick should just stop streaming. Well, but what would I do with my life if I did that? I'd just be stuck here in front of the camera yelling, but no one would watch. Dan the Dev says Crowder is doing it tomorrow night with Nick Diapolo. Well, that's great. That's cool. I like Crowder. The Nick Diapolo guy seems fine, but no one invited me to the show. Warm beer and mug. No. If you missed it earlier, this is iced tea from Cane's, sweet tea. And then it also has whole milk in it. I have lactose intolerance, so I drink Fairlife milk. So some whole milk. I would use heavy cream if I had that, giggity. And then some 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And it's just delicious. A vanilla sweet tea with some cream in it. I don't like cold beer. I certainly wouldn't like warm beer. What the fuck? You a dwarf with your game mug? No, it's a big mug, man. It's a giant mug. What's wrong with you? Will you fucking archive this thing? All I want to do is jump off the high dive into a fucking cement pond. Can you just archive the fucking webpage? God damn it. Someone said to open it in whatchamacallit? A private, like a incognito tab. Let's try that. Okay, can we do that? Oh, here we go. New incognito window. Oh, baby. All right. Hey, it worked, I think. We're going to try that real quick. Here we go. Oh, my God. The incognito thing worked. That was amazing. You're a superhero, whoever said that. So this is from Raw Story. That's your argument. Trump co-defendant's lawyer destroyed in Georgia Senate hearing. Destroyed. Apparently. Here we go. Ashley Merchant. Oh, that's her name. Ashley Merchant. An attorney for one of Donald Trump's co-defendants in Georgia was grilled by a Democratic state senator during the hearing on Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. So one thing to know about Ashley Merchant, she filed this thing like in January or whatever. But she had been talking to Terrence Bradley since September. She didn't enter into this thing lightly. It's not like she was like, oh, on a whim, I'm going to say that they had an affair. No. This thing was going on for a long time. Her text with Terrence Bradley went way back. And from the very beginning, you got the idea that he was telling her that there's an improper relationship going on. So while speaking to the Georgia Senate, State Senator Howard Jones pressed Merchant. He pressed her against the wall firmly. She gasped as he held her arms down by her sides. And he said, how can you accuse Fani Willis of wrongfully benefiting from an affair with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade? And she said, because I'm dripping wet. Under Merchant's theory, Willis paid Wade to prosecute Trump and then received kickbacks in the forms of vacations. I don't think that's actually her theory. Like, that is what happened, is that Willis was paying Wade to prosecute Trump, but she also received kickbacks in the form of vacations. But I don't think this is the distinction, right? This is the distinction with a difference that really matters. Just because that's what's going on and that is improper does not mean that they brought the action against Donald Trump for the purpose of inflating Fani Willis's wallet, right? Through Nathan Wade. That's not why they're prosecuting him. There's all sorts of political and improper reasons for the prosecution. This is just one of the practical results that's going on that taints the entire prosecution by itself. Just because this is happening does not mean this is the reason that it's done. And it's easy to try and pigeonhole it into that, because if you say that's the reason, well, then you go, well, this is all the money they got. That's ridiculous. Even though that's not any deference any private citizen would get, that is a deference that kind of makes sense to people. So, and how much does Miss Willis make? Jones asked. 200-something thousand a year, Merchant said. So your argument is that a person who makes 200 grand a year is actually setting up prosecutions to go on a trip that costs 3,500. Jones observed. That's your argument? No, not in isolation, Merchant insisted. I mean, you're talking about in isolation, the senator noted. Well, no, she isn't, but okay. I'm talking about what's in legal briefs. I don't know what else you may be speculating about. I'm just talking about what's in briefs that says this is the benefit that she got. Well, she got some other benefits. Good sleep after that big dicking. All I'm saying is that I got a person who's making 200 grand, and the benefit that you're putting into the briefs, not what you may say that you may find elsewhere, but the benefit in the briefs is I go on a trip for 3,300 and 4,400. He added, yes, several trips for multiple thousands of dollars. Again, just because someone makes 200K a year doesn't mean they have the disposable income to go on, 5, 6, 7, 8 trips that each cost thousands of dollars. I mean, that's your argument. If that's your argument, that's your argument. For her part, Merchant insisted there was more to her complaints about Willis and Wade. What else is in the brief? Jones challenged her. A lot of facts, a lot of law, Merchant remarked. No, as far as the actual financial benefit, Jones followed up. And Merchant says, I did not want to have any, as you call it, speculation. Merchant admitted, I did not want to speculate about anything else. Merchant is representing Mike Roman, who's accused of conspiring with others to overturn the 2020 presidential election in Georgia. So here we have the actual video. It's only It's only 1:48, and I want you guys to see this Trump lawyer get destroyed by a Georgia state senator, apparently, because this is how the media portrays this stuff.
It's to adults. Bottom line is, it's not extravagant. It's not lavish, is it?
The law only says $100.
Hey guys, do you think it's lavish to go on vacations that cost $4,000 per person? Like, don't tell me what you think Fani Willis should do. Do you guys think a $4,000 vacation for, like, a couple days or whatever, do you think that's lavish? And that's just the vacation that's presented as the vacation, like the hotel and the plane or whatever. That's not counting the food, the drinks, the activities or whatever. It's $4,000. Like, you guys can just throw down a $4,000 vacation all the time, right? I know I can constantly. People talk about that a lot, but actually that's an expensive vacation for me too. I know I travel kind of frequently with Lady Rackets, but like, I don't get to just scoff at throwing $4,000 per person, or even as a group, like down, or as a couple down the drain. I can't just do that. It has to be planned. It has to be something that we're going to decide to do and engage in, and give up other stuff. And it's like, this guy's like just acting like a $4,000 vacation is nothing. And we're talking like a weekend vacation. We're not talking like 2 weeks of time here. It's not some thrifty, way to go ahead and explore the Maldives or whatever on a budget. This is going for a weekend to somewhere often in the States, like Florida or Vegas, and just dropping a couple $1,000s. And that's not to even consider what other stuff they purchased or spent their money on in the vacation itself. Like, that's just airfare or hotel. That's not a cheap trip. Especially in Vegas, you're going to pay a fuckload more when you start getting activities involved. Crispy Leg Transport LLC says that congressman talks so much nobody knew what he was saying. It was a bunch of word salad. Okay, we're going to get back into this.
So
But it's not lavish.
that's one of the reasons I didn't include all the Ubers. I quite frankly didn't want to do the math. But there were a ton of Ubers on each of these trips. There was a hotel at the beginning of the Royal Bahamas. I didn't include that. I didn't want to do the math, and I also did not want to.
And how much does Ms.
Lawyers
Willis make?
never want to do math.
200 and something thousand a year.
And so your
in my brief.
argument is that a person who makes $200,000 a year is actually setting up prosecutions to go on
Now,
a trip that costs $3,500. That's your argument.
No, not in isolation.
that's not what her argument is. Again, it's not that they're setting up the prosecution to do these trips. It's that they're doing these trips in the midst of the prosecution, having an improper relationship that prejudicially impacts the defendant. And again, as she was starting to say at the very beginning of this clip, the law says $100. The law says $100. You can try and like cut, I don't know what you cut. Shoe heels? Like, what do you cut with this? But the law says $100. So you're like $3,300. No, that's 33 times the legal. Wait, no. Yeah, 33 times the legal amount of what's going on here. You don't just get to just slough that off. That's crazy.
I mean, you're talking about in isolation.
No, I'm not talking about isolation. I'm talking about what's in briefs. I don't know what else you may be speculating
What's
about.
in
I'm
your
just talking about
briefs?
what's in briefs that says this
is a giant
this
pussy.
is the benefit that she got. And all I'm saying is that I got a person who's making $200,000, and the benefit that you're putting into the briefs, not what you may say that you may find elsewhere, but the benefit in the briefs is I go on a trip with $3,300, $4,400, and they have made up all these prosecutions to go on a 3-day cruise.
And again, it's not one 3-day cruise. It's like 7 or 8 3-day cruises. It's several of these events. They've done shitloads of vacations, like one a month, sometimes 2 a month, for multiple months at a time. It's not like this is one trip. You're talking about ending up spending $30,000 to $40,000 of just disposable income that came from taxpayers
for $3,300. I mean, that's your argument. That's your argument, that's your argument.
That's not.
That's in the brief.
That's not our argument. So we did
What else
argue
is
for
in the
about
brief?
3 hours.
What else is in the brief?
What else is in the brief?
Yes.
A lot of facts, a lot of law.
No, as far as actual financial benefit.
So the financial benefit that I put in the brief was what I could prove. I did not want to have any, as you call it, speculation. I did not want to speculate about anything else. So I did not know if Mr. Wade paid for an Uber that Miss Willis was literally sitting in at the same time. You can kind of assume because it's from the airport to the hotel, but I did not want to speculate to that. So I didn't include those in the numbers.
There you go. So yeah, she doesn't go after everything. And again, this is a critical element of going after a claim that's a really important claim against a powerful opponent. You cannot include anything extrinsic. You can't include anything that you can't be relatively sure they were included in, because they go, aha, I didn't go to that cake shop. You're like, fuck, like that will give them this thing to hang on to. And you don't want to do that. You want to always be solid in your accusations, always be solid in what's going on. So that's the thing here. And she's saying, no, I didn't include all the extrinsic stuff. Otherwise it'd be way higher. But even so, they're very high amounts. It's just, this guy's trying to break them down to 1 of 10 or 1 of 15 and saying, well, that's not that much. Well, it's not when it's 1, but it is when it's a bunch. And it is when you start including all of the little stuff. There are a lot of places that I go with Lady Raggeds where we will travel by Uber exclusively once we get there, because renting a car gets expensive. And if you're just going to stay like in one area for a couple days, you just Uber wherever you're going to go. Even so, you're talking about hundreds to $1,000 of Ubers over a 4-day period, just because everywhere you go has to be done in this vehicle. And when you get into higher traffic times or whatever, the prices just go up. So it's not like these Uber charges and the dinners and drinks and all that stuff are irrelevant. It's that you can't necessarily prove that the other person is there for those. And so she's not including them, but there's significant amounts of costs that are involved. And if you really tally up what goes on in a vacation, those little extra costs are really what kill a lot of people, because like, okay, well, the hotel's predictable, the plane's predictable, the travel from the airport or whatever to the hotel is predictable. But then you start getting into dinners and drinks, and you're like, well, you have a drink. It's like, well, I'll go ahead and get the ribeye, right? And then you get the ribeye, and you're like, well, I got 2 more whiskeys. It's great. And suddenly your bill is $400 when it was supposed to be, an $80 bill. And then, you're gonna take all these Ubers all over the place, places you didn't think so. It's like, well, I didn't know this place was around, but we could just Uber over there. It'll be great. We'll hang out for a while. We'll come back. Suddenly the transportation costs of that trip are $100 when they were going to be $0. You weren't going to take it. And so these unpredictable costs start adding up and adding up and adding up. And this lawyer is simply saying, look, I didn't even do those because it's not necessary. The impropriety happens at the base level here. The hotel, the planes, the shit we can prove where they both were. This is not acceptable during this type of thing. All she had to do was not hire him or not date him or not go on those vacations. That's it. That's all she had to do. And she couldn't do any of those. She was incapable. Jason of TGA says a holiday with Fani has got to add at least $3,000 for a forklift. Holy shit. That's true. Yeah, she is giant and disgusting. Just horrifying. So look, that's the situation with Fani Willis. Terrence Bradley has been a source for a lot of the people, including Ashley Merchant or whatever, on their relationship. Terrence Bradley being the former law partner of Nathan Wade. He suggested behind the scenes that there's much more going on. When he got on the stand, he got jitters and he didn't testify against Nathan Wade. Now people are using that lack of testimony or that let's say erroneous testimony to say, no, he's told me other stuff. And now they're going to try and introduce prior inconsistent statements to impeach his testimony and suggest that he was misrepresenting things. And now his text communications and other communications will possibly come into play as countering his statements to the court recently. So with that, Fani's in trouble. Nathan Wade's in trouble. I think they should both be disqualified. The judge may be disqualifying them. And if they do, the prosecution's in question, but the prosecution's already in question due to the question of federal immunity that's going before the Supreme Court. Democrats are spurring out about it because the court has set it for their last day of hearings, which is April 25th. April 25th, they will take up the immunity hearing. That is a longer period of time than people want. They want the prosecution of Trump's criminal cases to go forward as soon as possible. So they want it to be earlier. Trump wants to delay it to the next session. Court didn't do that. They put it at the last day, and that still gives the court time to hear oral arguments, issue a ruling, and then go ahead and allow the lower courts to take that ruling and still do a prosecution if necessary against Donald Trump before the election. But it is getting tight on the timeline, so the media is freaking out, saying, "Oh, they've given him another win." It's not really a win. It's just kind of the nature of scheduling with the Supreme Court and how they do things. But that's the big appeal case. I didn't want to there's not too much else to talk about. Hannah Gutierrez or whatever, the armor for Rust, she's been found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Seems like a proper conviction for her. Whatchamacallit, Alec Baldwin is going to go on trial later this month, in a couple weeks for his charges in the murder / manslaughter of these people on the set of Rust, or the woman on the set of Rust. That woman. Can't believe she would take a bullet. She should have just moved. If she would have just moved, it would have been fine. That woman should have just moved. I don't know why she didn't move. Everybody else moves when I shoot them. But he's going to go on trial. But the armorer has been found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Her sentencing is to come. You can expect a couple years as part of that sentence, and we'll see how that goes. But that, to me, is a proper ruling. I mean, it's her job to hand him a gun loaded with blanks, not a gun loaded with real rounds. She failed at her job, and her job is a direct result, or the direct cause, a direct cause, I should say, of that person being killed. Now, Alec Baldwin is another direct cause, and he can have his own separate charges that will sustain, and we'll have to see how that goes. It's a different question for him, because he could just say, well, I just took a gun. I didn't know what it was. I've never even seen a gun in my life. He can say whatever he wants and try and blame her and other people that he should have been informed. But he'll have to do that. Right now, he's going to go on trial. But we'll watch for the fucking sentencing hearing of the Rust chick. If the sentencing hearing is like broadcast, which I think it will be, and I'm available, I'll try and watch it live. I don't know when it's going to be, but that should be funny because, well, try not killing people. Have you managed that? I've been alive a long time. I haven't killed anybody yet. These other people seem to have trouble with it, and then they're surprised when they're going to go to jail for it. So that's good. But you can just try not killing people. Like it's a thing you can do. But yeah, so following along with that, maybe we'll get a better update sometime soon. I'm not sure when the sentencing hearing is. Rachel Case's sentencing is end of April or beginning of May. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while on that one. But we will wait for that, and we'll watch for Alec Baldwin. But guys, I'm still like dying from all of the illness and the congestion and shit. So I'm going to wrap up the show, and I'm going to go to bed. And I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you guys are doing well. And again, there will not be a show Friday night, but there will be a show on Thursday, which is tomorrow. And we'll keep going and see what other topics are out there, see what's going on. Maybe P. Diddy, maybe a guest or two. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But with that, guys, thanks for watching tonight. Thanks for hanging out on YouTube and on Rumble. I very much appreciate all of you. And we'll see you tomorrow, okay? Hope you guys have a good night. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side, if his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost planning tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer till he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed, to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out another bag about more of that drug. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear lost planning tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Doug T to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. So pour out another bag about more of that drug. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear lost planning tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now.